Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Nice to see everyone here, and hello, live streamers. My name is Alex Taylor. I'm a licensed prayer practitioner here. So let's take a moment to go within, and if it's comfortable, to close your eyes. And breathe in this new day, this new morning, this new opportunity to expand in consciousness, to embrace spirit, to share in community. I know that this day is blessed, that each one of us is blessed to be at Light on the Mountains, to be with one another, to be sharing open minds and loving hearts. And I give thanks for this service, for the words that are spoken, for the feelings that are felt, for the beautiful music that is heard and sung. It is a brand new day, a brand new 24 hours to experience life and enjoy the opportunities that Spirit gives us. And together we say, and so it is. And I've selected a reading today. It's from the July Science of Mind magazine, and it's called Live from Love by Tony Bodegaro. And he says, relationships are the yellow brick road to harmony. Relationships are life in motion. Enjoy each and every step. We all have so many ways of relating to one another, our loved ones, neighbors, caregivers, the grocery store clerk, and our pets, and nature itself in all its glory. The list is endless. We are in relationship to everything and everyone around us. Looking back on the past few years, the pandemic fostered kind souls with generosity, patience, and appreciation. For some, this time opened the door to insensitivity, impatience, and disdain for common courtesies. How we create relationships creates everything else. If you have been a reader of this magazine, you know the work begins inside each one of us. We are the difference in the world, in service to healthy relationships and a healthy planet. You are the difference. The time of waiting is over. In 1983, I wrote the Universal Declaration of a World More Human and More Divine, to set a time clock in motion, to change the course of history for the greater good. The seconds are ticking away. The erosion of society's accepted traditions and belief systems has begun, or has it? I imagine if he has become everything that begins with imagination, I am absolutely everything. I invite you to imagine and to harmonize your mind, heart, and soul, and join a movement of unconditional love, a revolution of love vested in Holy Spirit. This is a movement not about you, not about me. Love is all about we. It's a movement not about searching the internet, but about soul searching. It's in flesh and blood. It begins and ends with the individual, our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. Together we can, as one, turn imagination into reality and create a world that is more human and more divine. Collectively, society's spotlight on national and global unrest is compounded by the stress and the fear many feel from the pandemic and civil unrest, placing all of us in the midst of a great transformation. It's uncomfortable, but that's when lasting change happens. An emergence is unfolding into a new reality that welcomes humanity to come together and cross over the bridge of separation into an awareness that we are literally one body, we can be buddies too, one body, one being, one spirit, the ultimate union of unity in diversity. No one should consider themselves superior or inferior to another human being. Are we so self-righteous that we fail to look within? Isn't self-interest in any form counterproductive? Does the word interdependency and its undeniable proof mean anything to us? Do we take ourselves too seriously? Life is not about winning or losing. It's about being, then doing. Human nature varies little. Our physical appearance may be different, but our hearts beat the same, and our souls bring us together as a global family. Be the amazing person that you are, and apply your skills, talents, and passions throughout life's marketplace. But do not be so preoccupied with everything that you concentrate on nothing. Never be diverted by accolades, criticism, or apathy. Just keep rowing your own boat. I'm often asked how we can overcome fear, despair, and separation when there is so much divisiveness permeating society. To me, it's all about we. We are all and each responsible for whatever happens anywhere and everywhere. Let's own this opportunity together and vulnerably learn about others and their histories. Ask and answer the tough questions and become one in the solutions. And now we're going to do our affirmation today, which is on your insert in red, affirmation for July. And we'll say that together. I express as the spiritual principle of freedom with the intention of realizing the greater good in all that I do. Thank you.
There was a good, thanks, Alex. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, RL. Good morning, everybody. Happy summer. It is summer, isn't it? It finally stuck. So I watched a really interesting 3-minute video from Senator Cory Booker yesterday, and this is not in the least bit political, so don't go into our corners, depending on where you are. But he was so excited because he had just met, I'm reading the name here, Nicholas A. Christakis, MD, PhD, MPH, I'm not even sure what that is, a medical doctor and a sociologist. That's a lot of information, isn't it? But here was, I'm going to read a little bit about who he is and what he does. But in Senator Booker's words, Nicholas was explaining to him of what his work was. As a medical doctor, he's very interested in how things like viruses go through the population. Of course, we're all concerned about that these last few years, aren't we? That's the #1 topic. But as a sociologist, he's very interested and does a lot of scientific research on how the energy of ideas infiltrate through populations, which is really amazing and in a sense shows how what we teach in spiritual things are coming so close to science things, and actually there's no difference when you get down to it. I think we'll finally get to the point saying, no, there's really, it's not only crossover, it's actually the same sort of thing. And what Senator Booker was sharing from his conversation that he was so excited about, that Dr. Nicholas was talking about the energy of, again, of networks, of information networks, of how we pass things around. And it's not just consciously, I'm now passing information to you and you're listening because I got it yesterday, that we make, as he was saying, energetic deposits of information into what he calls a social network, and how people pick up on that, again, this is through his scientific research, who are not directly related to you in your either family or in your immediate sphere of friends. And a great example that he gave, that he shared, was that imagine that you've decided that you want to quit smoking. That possibly that the idea that you could now successfully quit smoking came from actually a friend of a friend of a friend you never met who has just successfully done so, and in a sense made that deposit in consciousness that it's possible. And that you unknowingly got that idea, maybe it's finally time. That it wasn't a random thought so much as that it was out there as a possibility that could be successful for you right now. I mean, isn't that interesting how, and think of our lives, how often ideas like that will pop up in our heads. It's like, why don't I do that? I always thought I could never do that, but today I think I can do that. That Dr. Nicholas talks about the energy of social networks that just exist on this larger energetic plane. So I just want to read a couple paragraphs about his work to hope it doesn't confuse it even more, because it's very scientific-y, So it says, but we're up for it, aren't we? I am. It's early. I've had coffee. So it says, Nicholas Christakis, all these MDs, PhDs, is a sociologist and physician who conducts research in the area of social networks and biosocial science. His current research is mainly focused on two topics: the social, mathematical, and biological rules governing how social networks form, meaning connection, and two, the social and biological implications of how they operate to influence thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And he says contagion. It's contagious. Ideas are contagious. His lab uses both observational and experimental methods to study these phenomena, exploiting techniques from sociology, computer science, biosocial science, demography, I can't even say that, statistics, behavior genetics, evolutionary biology, epidemiology, and other fields. Now, it sounds important, doesn't it? Even if you don't even know what that means. It gives it validation of what you might think. It's like, I don't know what he said, but it sounded really true, didn't it? That's part of our social energetic network. We have just decided he's actually doing great work because we haven't a clue what he's doing. But what I find so amazing about that, again, how it brings scientific and spiritual concepts for discussion on the same table. And specifically, with what we look at in our philosophy, spiritual philosophy we teach here, which is called science of mind. The reason why our founding philosopher, Ernest Holmes, I think, used the word science because he wanted to bring it out of the realm of superstition and to say that science and spirituality had a connection point. And way back 100 years ago, it shows you how I think far ahead he was to bring that idea together, which no one would have ever thought of such an idea at that time. And so today I want to look at our topic this month, which is freedom, and the freedom to reveal the truth. And of course, the next question, what in the world is true? And how do we look at that through even this doctor's work, in a sense? So what is true anymore? Truth is what we come to believe it is, isn't it? Truth is what the ideas we form and we believe of which we operate from. So whether they are, quote unquote, seemingly not true or not, we are operating under the idea that they are. And so, and even with things that, let's say, that are truly objectively true, meaning scientifically there's experiments that says it's true, or something that should seem so obvious, like we live on Earth, which is a spherical object that is orbiting the sun, going at a tremendous amount of speed doing so. Do you know there's a lot of people that don't believe that? In fact, just for fun, go home today and look up Flat Earth Society. There are a lot of people who, in spite of all scientific things that I know nothing about, believe that it's flat, and believe that there are, multi-layered of conspiracy theories of why that, the evil, it must be the Opus Dei or something. Like, isn't it always like some secret religious group that has all these things that, it's really flat, but we're telling everybody it's round, sort of thing. But the thing is, of course, objectively, there's no discussion. It's not flat. But imagine, in a sense, the deposits of energy in this social network that the doctor talks about, that they are depositing, that we all share. So you might come to the idea like the Earth is flat and go, oh, yeah, right. But what is deposited with that idea by someone that's doing that? And if there's any flat earthers here, really not to judge you, but we're talking about you today. So you might be depositing a sense of mistrust. You may deposit ideas that people who have gone and gotten these PhDs actually not so smart after all. I'm smarter than them. They don't know the earth is flat, but I do. So look at all the things that can get deposited into this social, economical, network of energy that we all share. And we certainly, in the last few years, have seen an uptick of those kind of things, of suspicions and what's really true, and I'm right and you're wrong, and there might be an objective truth, but I know that it's really not true. And so it's this big mishmash of things here. And what I really loved about Senator Booker in this little 3-minute thing, he was really challenging us to ask ourselves, what deposit am I going to make today? Energetically into this thing that we all share, and it was just amazing that someone from the government was talking about this, that we're all connected and we all pick it up on some level. And his challenge was to wake up, what's going on in your mind is being shared, whether you know it or not. And maybe we should, in a sense, choose what it is, even internally, what we are sharing. And the example that I give all the time is that on days that, let's imagine you get that great phone call, great news, and wonderful things happen, and as you go around your day with that uplift of energy, how amazing it is, how nice everyone is to you. And the opposite, when you get bad news and you turn into, grumpy pants, how everyone you meet is grumpy pants. I mean, it's just like you have this aura of grumpy pants in front of you that people pick up on. You've added it. It says, take notice, everybody, I'm in a bad mood. And they react accordingly. So this works on a much larger scale. So as Senator Booker was challenging me and all of us in this little mini video, what deposits are you going to make today, energetically and in your beliefs? And so let's look at a couple things that we teach here at Light of the Mountains. First of all, we teach spiritual principles. On one hand, I believe true spiritual principles never change, but our knowledge of them, of how they work and how they work through us, changes drastically. Our understanding of them changes drastically. So, on a sense, on a very higher level of energy, they are static, but as we are, the filters, they change. And so, first of all, I really appreciate with this philosophy and why I came into it, our founding philosopher said a couple things that stick with me a lot. He says, one, this is what I think is true. Take what you want, leave what you don't want. Not like you gotta swallow the whole thing whole or else. It's like, no, if that doesn't work for you, throw it away. I don't really care. The other thing that's often quoted by him, he would say, be open at the top, meaning the way we understand things changes continuously. And that the way that he understood a spiritual principle to be maybe 75 to 100 years ago would be dramatically different of how it would be understood today. And even within some of my colleagues, we get these really philosophical discussions about, spiritual principles and what's true. And they'll say, well, I know we need to be open at the top, but, Ernie said in 1925, it's like, who cares? It all evolves. It all is a sense there is a new way to digest information today, even different from yesterday. So that's one thing that we really teach. If you're coming to me and say, John, show me the stone tablets you got from the burning bush, the take it to the bank, it's true. It's like, don't have it. Again, I often say my job is to challenge us to ask the questions, knowing that we will never come up with the ultimate definitive answer, and that it's always evolving. So another thing that we teach here is simply, basically, in other words, that there is an energetic social network that we all share. And Ernest Combs would call that the one mind, or one mind of the divine, or one mind of God. Basically, we all energetically share on some level. Now, when you think back, and I think back when you go 100 years, when Ernest Holmes started that conversation, how crazy it sounded. I mean, you really think of it. Go back 100 years. They say that we are energetically all connected, and with things of Eastern religious philosophy blended in there, how just like, okay, you've really lost it. We're connected? What? The thought that I put into this, energetic network could actually affect the world in some way, and not to mention just myself? Well, it does. So here is a little kind of thing for you to play with. So just like when you came in here this morning, or you go to any place where there is a group of people, before you go in and just jump in and start to participate, ask yourself, what does this energetic social network feel like today in this room? This is not weird or woo-woo. Dr. Nicholas said it so. It's right here on the page. I just want you to know. I'm not like, John's really gone to tinfoil hat territory. No, I have not. He might have, but I have not. So when you go into a large group thing, energetically take the temperature. And now your first thing would be, oh, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Actually, you can, and you do. Didn't you say, you've said things like this. I went there and I just didn't have a good feeling. Haven't we all said that? Or you went somewhere and says, I walked into the door and I felt immediately welcome before someone even noticed I had walked through the door. Haven't you said things similar to that? Without even trying, you energetically took the temperature of the room that you just walked in, and you had an immediate reaction without even trying. So and you do this, we do this every day. So it wasn't like it just happened once in June of 1968. It happens every day of your life, whether you realize it or not. That you go through your life and your day, and you go here and there, and you are constantly feeling a different shift of what it's like when you walk into. So the next step of that is to be conscious of it and bring it forth and do it purposefully. What am I walking into? What energy are people and ideas putting into here right now? And how can I step up, like Senator Booker said, and put something really great and positive in the room that I'm coming into? We're all connected. It's not some weird woo-woo thing. It actually is. So it takes it from being like, oh, I just didn't feel good, or I felt good going into here. It's like, oh, I can put a different type of energy here if it seems like it needs it. I can, as Cory Booker said, that why don't you choose to bring love and compassion to where you go today? Especially considering it seems like there's a lot of that lacking in the world today. And that really piggybacks with something very similar that we teach, that thought is creative. In other words, again, just like taking the temperature in the room, what you think is not just in your brain or in your heart. It creates first within your consciousness, and then it outpictures into your experience. Sometimes that is just created by attracting people that are in alignment with that thought, whether it's negative or positive, but it starts the ball rolling of your social energetic network of how things and belief come into being. So with that, to start to imagine or think, what am I thinking most and much of the time? Now, I know we all have days that we're just, like I said, grumpy pants. But what do you think about most of the time? Do you find yourself saying things like, I'm hoping for the best but preparing for the worst? Well, that'll get you somewhere. Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. I'm buying a first-class ticket on the Titanic. I mean, how crazy is things like that? I mean, when you think of that as just the most pitiful pearl thing I've ever heard of. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm preparing for the worst. You know, like, oh my God. And in today's world political COVID environment, on some levels, we do iterations of that. Yeah, I really, I just know this is going to get better, and, we'll find really the best cure, or we'll go into an endemic where it's not a thing, but, I just don't feel too good about it now. Do you? Again, where is that going to get us? That is putting a thought pattern in that it is not healable, it is not curable. And you are supporting that. It's like, gee, I hope it is, but we all know that it's not. So if things are not going too well in your life in a particular area, might you have had some form of hoping for the best, preparing for the worst? Have you gone into a situation, this kind of thing just never works out for me. I'm going to do it anyway. I'll be the sacrificial lamb. I never do this well, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to show you what a good sport I am. And of course it doesn't work out. And then it's a self-fulfilled prophecy. See, I told you it didn't work. I told you I would bomb, or I told you it just would be a disaster. You set yourself up for it. So to change your lives and for us to change the world, we have to elevate to a different idea that actually something that I've not been successful at, it's possible for me to have a journey where I am successful at it. It doesn't mean that one thought and boom, you're like an expert in a certain area. It means that just like the example that Senator Booker gave from the doctor of someone wanting to stop smoking, that the idea that the person latched on like, oh, success is actually possible. There's an idea floating out there that it is possible. So the same with us. It's like, it's never worked for me before, but you know what? It's worked for somebody else. And that way and means and idea and belief is out there somewhere, and I can choose to seek it out. In fact, that is the only way that we move forward in life, getting from one place to another. Look at your own lives. Look back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, depending on how many decades you have to look back. And the further you look back, you'll see that there were so many things that you were just not capable of doing then that today it seems like no big deal. It was a movement of thought and faith and belief that you energetically entertained the idea that you could, and eventually that it stuck. So thought is creative. Again, what deposits in our energetic network are you going to make today? And within that, one of the last things to talk about is what do you believe the core experience of why we're here is? I know we could talk for centuries about that. But the way that I look at it, I wrote about it in my blog a little bit. So do you think as we are experiencing life here today on planet Earth, which is spherical, not flat, do you think that the core of our experience is about reward and punishment, or do you believe that it's about learning lessons and growing in consciousness? I know it's a trick question for this group. There are some people who'd be like, never really thought about that. Maybe some people at home, you kind of like accidentally found me this morning on a live stream, like, what is that strange man saying those strange things? At the core of how we were raised in the Western world, and I think even worldwide, is this idea that it is on some level all about reward or punishment. Even this morning, as Will the Wonder Dog was running through the yard with a bagel with ants and mold on it, what are we going to do? Here's a treat. If you drop that nasty bagel, you can have a treat. And then, of course, Will's like, sure, I'm up for a treat at any time. But we think of it in that way. I've actually heard people say that, well, if there wasn't reward and punishment, why would people do anything that was good? Like, oh no, if it wasn't for, hell and damnation, I'd lead a life of crime. That's crazy. But on so many levels, whether you on a religious level or secular level, we believe in a sense of reward and punishments. And it's all either a carrot or a stick sort of thing. And it's really not. It's about growth in consciousness and how we can elevate to the next level of experience. And it's funny, even in Eastern philosophy, with the principle of karma, there's still that idea of reward and punishment. I must have been really bad in a past life because look what I attracted. And there's almost this fatalistic thing of I'm getting the punishment that I deserve. And when I do my time, I will finally have a better life because I will balance the scales. It never works that way. If anything in your life where you had to pay a price for, and we all have had to pay some prices, if you didn't learn from the mistake, you probably made the mistake again, didn't you? It wasn't like, oh, I won't do that again because it hurt. It'll be, again, remember your teenage self. Gee, I think I'll just drive at 100 miles an hour again. That was fun, even though I got a ticket and had my license taken away. I'll do it again because it was fun. You didn't learn. There needs to be that light bulb of learning and to, in a sense, transcend the negative behavior or negative karma. Karma is not fulfilled when you get punished. It is fulfilled when you learn. So when we look at thought is creative, connected to everything else, in any situation that we are in, as difficult as it can be sometimes in the challenging lessons of life, is to really say, how can I learn my way out of this? Now, yes, there are physical things that you have to do. If you're drowning in the ocean, you really probably would like a life preserver. And you wouldn't, as you're gulping for the third time, what am I learning here? Well, probably next time go with a life preserver. Might be a good lesson. But it is this thing of learning your way out of it means that you are finding the physical support and decisions to move through it and above it and out of it. So again, as we are elevating our energetic experience to this that we are all connected, there is so much available out there, and what we need to learn is out there. To open ourselves up to that. And to know that even in a situation that feels and seems impossible, it never is. Not to say that it can always work out exactly as your human ego wants it to work out. But there is a way through that you've not considered, and that we can, in a sense, learn our ways through it. And that's kind of what our philosophy is about. We can direct where we go. So each and every day, we should ask ourselves, what kind of deposit am I making into our collective learning and information here? With all the choices that I have, what am I going to do? And I know, especially in these last few years, like I said, we're all, like I said, a little crispy on edge emotionally sometimes, aren't we? I know, I have been. As I talk to my clergy colleagues, it's emotionally a really difficult profession to be in these last few years, quite frankly. It really is. And not to be like, oh, pitiful pearl me, but it's like, it really is. Because here's the thing is that as clergy people, on the good, people feel comfortable coming to us to talk. People also feel comfortable coming to us to project. And so, and again, I'm really not like to say like, oh, poor John. It's just like, so when someone like, and they start a conversation, the first thing in my mind is this about me? Or is it about COVID? Is it about politics? Is it about any number of things going on in their lives that is just putting them on their wit's edge that I just happen to be here? And we have all reacted in that way on some level because, like I said, we're working our last nerve, basically, these last few years. We're at a growing edge, I think, in the world right now, and there's certain moments that we just don't feel the growth, we feel the edge. So the way that you can help change the world, when you, like to me and Atkinson's, you've just had a terrible day, and I've like, oh my God, here they come, and I didn't successfully, like, because I can see it coming usually. It's like, oh God. Ask yourself, bring yourself back into center, what energetic deposit do I want to make today? Knowing that it will not only bless the world, it will bless you in the elevation of consciousness that you're choosing to do that right now. And that you can choose a different level of consciousness even if you have no idea where that positive choice is going to go or affect the world. In fact, that happens a lot. Now, I think as humans, we're very results-oriented. We like to think if I have this great thought, this great thing will happen. Or if I'm really nice to this person in a certain way, this wonderful thing will happen. Often, these energetic deposits that we make, the results are not even seen on the level of the human, at least in the moment. I think the term deposit is great. You know, you deposit money into an account, and you might not see where it's going, what it's doing, or how it's accruing interest. You just kind of know that it's a good thing, and you don't know how it's working. So part of this is to just entertain experiences that will elevate your thought and belief, and share those with others. And I just want to leave you with one opportunity to do that. And this is not a commercial. Many of you know that I have a very, very small staff role with the Sun Valley Writers Conference. And it's just, I love it. And basically, it's authors coming and talking about their work. And you can go. Most of the main talks will be free online and live stream. Just go to the website. So the reason why I like hearing the authors talk, a lot of it is just they're talking about their work. But there's always that one or two that elevates you to a different level of consciousness. That I call them just the sleepers. Like, I never read the book, I never heard about them, but I've got an hour, I'm going to listen to them, and you walk out like, my life has just been changed. And just one I want to tell you about that I just remember this was like 10 years ago, and afterwards no one could even clap. It's just like, our lives have just been collectively changed by this talk, and I don't say that lightly. And so I just want to give you an example of what can happen if you're just even watching it on live stream. So it was Abraham Verghese who wrote Cutting for Stone. Now, that book is a novel, but he went to talk about his life instead of the novel. He is a medical doctor. And he started to talk about his work as a doctor during the height of the AIDS epidemic. And that how he, as a Western medical doctor, felt like he was Superman and could cure everything and suddenly couldn't cure anything. And that just being at a loss and just of being just so humbled that he wasn't this superhuman being that he had come to believe that he was. And he said, this is what it came down to. He could make a big difference. And that difference, more often than not, was just sitting at a patient's bedside and holding their hand. From this person, Superman, I can cure anything, to all I can do is love you. In today's world, it might come down to that. All I can do is love you right now. You might be acting up. You may be having a moment that I actually don't want to share, but all I can do is love you. So when you have those kind of thoughts and deposits into our energetic network, it can't help but go into amazing places. Challenge yourself to be challenged to entertain thoughts that you don't think are even possible. So let's just go within. And first, let us just express our gratitude for this morning, this amazing place that we live, or some of you visit. Give thanks for each person here, each person at home in live stream, wherever they are in the world or in the country. And know that we are consciously right where we are right now. In this moment, we are grateful. In this moment, in spite of appearances, we know that all things are possible. And we allow ourselves to energetically connect to those higher realms of consciousness where those possibilities exist 100%. And we allow ourselves to know that these possibilities are true. We allow ourselves to know that we are all connected and to know that our thoughts are precious and do change the world. And we now affirm to change our thoughts when they are not working in ours or the world's favor. We allow this to be so. And so in this world that seems to have at times lost its mind, we say yes to something bigger. We know that something greater is more not only possible, but exists in a higher realm of thought. And we accept and embody and share that. And in this sharing, we just energetically let it go. This perfectly formed thought we release, we let go into this network of energy to just have its way, to let it be done. We just completely and wholly release attachment to how it will play out. We just know that it is true. And so it is.